Are you ready for the best Kansas City Chiefs insight? Welcome to ChiefsBlitz.com YouTube podcast with your host, Nick Athan, Andre Tillman, and producer Hence Todd. They'll break down the three-time Super Bowl champions as only they can do. Here's your host, Nick Athan.
Welcome back to another edition of Chiefs Blitz on YouTube. ChiefsBlitz.com is the website. Today, we've got a special guest, Montagna, who's going to be our regular contributor here on the podcast, Mr. Hence Todd, who's jamming with his KC background. Looks pretty good. Getting ready for opening day, 2 days away. First and foremost, gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show. How are we doing tonight?
I'll let the guests go first. Go ahead, Lou.
I got to get that first announcer guy. Give him my name, filling in. But no, it's all good. Can't wait. It's this time of year, getting fired up and just ready to go, ready to rock and roll.
And I'm doing great. I'm ready for this this Thursday night showdown. You know what I mean? Can Patrick Mahomes pull it off without Travis Kelce? If Travis Kelce don't play, maybe Chris Jones show up. Maybe we don't know. But again, welcome in, guys. Welcome everybody. Please share. It's a lovely Thursday. I hope you guys, we can bring all the special Chiefs news we can to you guys today. Let's go on. Start off. What you got for us today?
Let's do it. Well, obviously, the big news today, Travis Kelce, hyperextended knee. Here's exactly what we know to date. One, he did walk off with a slight limp. He did not need any assistance. They had an MRI done this afternoon. It was clean. There's a little bit of inflammation. If I know Travis Kelce, at least from a playing perspective as well as I do, I think there's a chance he'll try to play. You know how this guy is built and how he rolls. And I think his comments yesterday before the injury, as he was tired of talking about the offseason, it's go time. It's to go get another Super Bowl, and it starts now. And he doesn't care about any of the celebration stuff. So will he be celebrating on the field Thursday night remains to be seen. But I think we remember what happened in the AFC title game last year. He tweaked his back on a Friday. It did not look good. He somehow managed to play on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. So if not, we're going to see a lot of Noah Gray, and we'll see what he's got.
I'm ready to see Noah Gray, man. I know he was drafted probably be Travis Kelce replacement. But a lot of people ain't ready to see Noah Gray, but I am. I'm ready to see Noah Gray. I'm ready to see what he offers to the team. See what he brings to the future of the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, his knee and everything. All I can do is pray for the best of him. Pray for he can come back healthy. But it's this time of the year where these guys got to step up and show where they belong. Show they worth the draft pick. What you think about it, Lou?
Anytime Noah's had a chance to play, he's more than capable of filling in. Now, does he have the same intuitiveness with Patrick Mahomes that Kelce does? No way. Nobody's ever going to have that probably throughout Patrick's career. But we've all seen that any opportunity that no matter which receivers come in, he's going to make it work. So keeping the 7 receivers, that helps if Travis is going to miss any time. Justin Watson could fill in. This team's always talking about their depth. Let's see the depth on display. So whether it's Noah, Bushman, the Belldozer, if he can come in there and maybe catch a pass or two, more than likely he's going to block.
Or it's KC Wolf. You never know. Hey, come out here to do what you need to do.
Yeah, they would be wise to make Bushman active. They're going to have to bring him off the practice squad, which means they're going to have to make a corresponding roster move. And I'm not sure who that's going to be at this point. But, if this injury is 2 to 3 weeks, Bushman definitely has to come up. He's a guy that knows the offense. And I think that's important for Reed to have, another guy who understands it. Listen, I'm with you, Lou. I like Noah Gray. I thought he made some great plays a year ago. I think he has been in the system now, 2-3 years. He knows what's going on. He's spent a lot of time with Patrick. Patrick trusts him. And I think those are all good signs. But Bushman, I think, needs to come up and get on the active roster just to be sure.
And he was having a great preseason last year before he got hurt. Speaking of Bushman, and he's played well this preseason. So, and again, as far as Noah's concerned, I mean, this is his time. You hate to see him get the opportunity this way again if Travis doesn't play, but I think he can kind of show his skills. And as Hence was saying, I mean, he's the eventual replacement if that's the case.
We'll see.
Hopefully later than sooner, but let's see him.
Yeah.
Noah Gray going to go off, but we also know who's going to go off. Everybody knows Travis Kelce is out, so that's leading to more targets to Justin Ross. Justin Ross is going to be a Justin Ross showdown from Detroit on Thursday night. Show that, hey, we have a weapon here. What you guys think, man?
Go ahead, Lou.
Well, you know, from last time, I love me some Justin Ross. I mean, the guy's got all the skills and ability to be a number one receiver in this league. Now, can he stay healthy? That's the biggest question. He is healthy now, but you know, you've got these other guys in front of him. I mean, Sky Moore's ready to step up. MVS, another year in the offense, another year playing with Patrick, Rashee Rice. I mean, all these guys are ready to play. So they got 7 of them. It's going to be interesting to see which ones are up and which ones aren't. I'd love to see Justin Ross get a chance, especially, you know, jump balls and everything else that he brings to the table. But again, I just would dying to see who they have up from that receiver core.
Yeah, I would be shocked if all 7, because you mentioned Justin Watson. He could probably slide into the slot, play the tight end position probably pretty well. He knows this offense backwards and forwards. I wouldn't be surprised if Andy utilizes him in that regard. But yeah, I mean, they are 7 deep. They are committed to these guys. Andy's made it clear that, you know, they need all 7. And I think for this game, you need them all in there, because, you know, if Rice is off, you know, if Ross is off a little bit, you know, Sky Moore doesn't play well, at least they can rotate these guys in. Plus, it keeps the Detroit Lions defense honest, because they're going to have to prepare for all these guys. And the beauty about these 7 wide receivers is they're all different. They all do different things. They're all different shapes and sizes and speed. They all run different routes. And for a guy like Patrick Mahomes, if he gets time in the pocket, which I'm anticipating he will with this offensive line, I'm not concerned about winning this game without Kelce, because I think they have the wide receivers. And we haven't even talked about the running backs yet.
Meaning, speaking of wide receivers, you're going to have Kadarius Toney back too. You know what I mean? Kadarius Toney's coming off an injury. You're going to have Justin Ross, Rashee Rice, Scott Moore, you know, MVS. It's going to, I'll put it like this. This is going to be that game that Chiefs, that Patrick Mahomes is going to have to put all the naysayers to the side. Everybody said he needed Travis Kelce. Everybody said he needed Tyreek Hill. Everybody said he needed Chris Jones. Now, if all them guys not there and it's just Patrick Mahomes with no number 1 pick wide receivers out there besides Kadarius Toney, and he's out there and he lights up the scoreboard and he put a beat down on the Lions and put them actually back into the Lions den, I say the Chiefs. I said that's gonna be a biggest storyline of all time for the Chiefs kingdom. What you guys say?
Again, I'm just interested to see which guys play, because like you said, you have so many targets, so many shapes and sizes. This has the makings of a really good receiving core. Again, health, KT, same thing. You know, I mean, he is going to be up, but you know, we've seen it, you know, he gets these little tweaks and what it keeps him out for like a game or 2, but we've seen it again in the Super Bowl. He 2 touches and he changes the game.
Yeah.
So, and then Rice, if he can get the drop straightened out, he looks like he can be a big time player. Sky, you know, is ready to break out. So, yeah, I don't really, not too worried offensively at all. It's really just a matter of how they decide to play it. My concern in the game, of course, you know, we'll talk about Chris Jones, I would imagine at some point, probably real soon, is that pass rush. Can they get to Jared Goff if he starts, you know, if they open it up a little bit?
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key.
You said Tyreek who?
Yeah, Tyreek. Yeah, definitely. Old friend alert and Simone Ratley. I've known her a very long time. Nice to see her catching the show with us. So shout out to Simone and Vincent DiCarlo, who's a huge fan, and really appreciate everybody out there talking and joining the show. But I think you make a great point. You know, the pass rush is going to be really key for this football team. You know, George Kalafdis is going to have to step up. Derek Nottie, Tershawn Wharton, it sounds like he's healthy. Neil Farrell, who they just picked up, you know, from the Raiders. And Mike Dana, you know, he's a guy that really hasn't done a whole lot in a Chiefs uniform, but the coaches love him and know Chris Jones and you know, Felix, you know, King Felix from K-State. What are we going to get out of him? You know, remains to be seen. So
I think that's who's going to wreck the game. I think
he has potential, but man, that's a lot to ask for going up against one of the better offensive lines in the National Football League is in Detroit. Yeah. But man, I'm with you, Hence. If that happens, that'd be great.
I believe he's going to wreck the game because you got the crowd noise. You know what I mean? The Chiefs fans going to be electrified like always since the 90s. Since the stadium been there since it's been built. Besides the bag head, you know, since we had the bags on our head.
I remember those days.
Forget those days. But I'm talking about the days when we have, you know, we got Patrick Mahomes and the deep, you know, I think that crowd noise is going to be the X factor for this defense if Chris Jones don't show up. We don't know. Because he did put a tweet out there that, you know, we'll show later in the show, but maybe he's here. Maybe he'll be back in Kansas City. But
maybe he's already in Kansas City. Who knows?
Maybe he is. Maybe he's already here. But what I'm saying is this. I'm saying that the Chiefs fans are going to bring the noise for their game, and the pass rushers are going to eat. Even though that Chris Jones ain't there, I feel that the pick from the Raiders, you know, we talking about the Raiders here, everybody. The Raiders don't know what to do over there. You know what I mean? The Raiders don't know how to run the organization. They fans don't show up for their games anymore. But, you know what I mean? They gave us I think it's going to be a steal. You know what I mean? I think he's going to be a steal. You know what I mean? I had my eyes on him, you know, when he was at LSU. I think he's going to be big for this run game defense and also a bigger body up in the middle for the pass rushers to eat on the outside. What you guys say?
Well, you gotta hope he is. Any trade it seems like Veach is made for I don't want to say a high round draft choice or even just a decent draft choice. He seems to, they liked him coming out. Maybe they didn't get a chance to draft him, but they bring him in, you get him working with Joe Cullen. Now all of a sudden, maybe you got something. And the Raiders didn't quite like him, didn't fit what they were doing. Whatever you want to say, you know, maybe he has an opportunity to do something on this defensive line because they're going to rotate everybody in and out. Everybody you guys mentioned are going to play. They're going to have a role. And you just hope that the young guys step up, especially George. I'm looking for him to take a step.
Yeah, and for George, I mean, he spent a lot of the offseason working with Tom Ali, who spent a lot of time with his footwork and his technique. And remember Frank Clark, you know, spent a lot of time with Carl Laftis last season. And I think the thing about him that excites me about year two is, you know, he never hit that rookie wall last season. He played well down the stretch. He played well in the postseason. He didn't seem to be bothered by, you know, the speed of the NFL or hitting that college football wall at, you know, what, week 12, week 13, you know, college games versus pro games, not to mention 3 preseason games. So I think he is going to be, I think he has the potential to really be a dominating pass rusher. And when Mr. Jones decides to wake up and smell the roses and chase that Super Bowl ring, you know, that's only going to help George even more so on the outside. But to me, Carl Loftus is a guy that has to wreak some havoc, and they got to get some push up the middle. I'd like to see, you know, Keandre Colburn get a chance to maybe make some plays in the middle. He was terrific in camp, kind of an unsung guy. You don't really know what you're going to get out of him, but they love his motor. They love his playmaking abilities. But, you know, Joe Cullen, defensive line coach, is a magician. What he did last year to that defensive line, that was basically the same plus Karlaftis. And look how they elevated their game. They got more sacks. They made more plays up front. They knocked more balls down. Get your mitts up, guys. Just stick them up in the air and wave. You know, try and block that pass. And that was an emphasis when Joe came aboard. And, you know, I think they're going to have to do all those little things. And then Steve Spagnuolo, you know, he's going to be bringing the blitz packages. listen, Jared Goff set aside the showdown in LA with Pat Mahomes when they won like 54-51 in one of the greatest regular season games of all time. But for Spags, he's going to have to bring the heat. He's going to have to blitz the corners and safeties. He's going to have to make sure the guys that are in single coverage can stay in single coverage, because if you put any pressure on Jared Goff, his passer rating goes down 75%. And that's the key. That's what you're going to have to do. But they've got pretty good running backs. They've got some decent wide receivers. And I think they're going to have to be aggressive. And we saw that with Spags in the preseason. He let a lot of the young kids go out there and get involved in blitz packages in 3 preseason games, which is really shocking to me. So that tends to believe that, hey, they know they're going to have some next men up. They're going to have to step up, and he's getting them ready.
Well, I think Spags has a lot more confidence now, especially with the defensive backs throwing some of those blitzes out, because they figured out they can all cover and they can mix and match with, obviously, hopefully Snead is back and ready to play, but Watson and Williams, those kids can play. McDuffie obviously is going to be in there all the time, but those other guys are going to play, and he's got the confidence that he can send any blitz and feel comfortable with their coverage.
Yeah, like I said, Rush just came over too from the Indiana coach, so you can't that's going to be a big steal for the Chiefs, man. I think that's going to be a big steal for the Chiefs also. And speaking of the defense, Chris Jones has put a tweet out there saying, go get your McDonald flags in Kansas City, even though that he posts all this other stuff on the social media, get the fans stirred up. He is promoting for the Chiefs kingdom still, while he's still working towards his contract. What you guys think about that?
He's a character. I mean, he's just another character from this team. There's a reason why we love the team, why we love him. This is his last chance at a big contract, and he's going to do whatever he thinks is best to get it. I don't know if his agents are really advising him properly. I mean, he's given up a lot of money so far. I think the Chiefs want to pay him, but whatever he's doing, it's just, it's all great entertainment. I guess my question, what do we know to be true? Because you see so many stories. He's looking for Aaron Donald money. No, he's not looking for Aaron Donald money. He wants this much. No, he wants that much. Is it years? Is it the structure? So there's a lot that goes into it. I guess, what do we know to be true?
Well, I'll say this. I know that, a lot of Chiefs fans are pretty down on Mike Florio. I've known Mike a long time. I worked with him in the infancy days of Pro Football Talk way back when, before it was what it is today. And, he's always been tied to agents, and he's always been in the know. And of course, the NFL signs his paychecks. So listen, I think the truth is this: he wants close to $30 million. That's my personal belief. The way they were trying to structure this contract was they would give him a bump in pay this year. They would give him the guaranteed money he wants in year 2 and 3. Now, to me, they'd have to throw in a 4th year just to spread the money out, knowing that Chris probably won't attain it. But I think he's looking for that 90 million, 95 million guarantee somewhere in there. Probably gets the deal done. But, here's the thing about Chris. I don't think there's any question that he wants to be a Chief. I don't think I think what he has said in the past has been accurate about his love for the city and you don't get a guy who makes a big play in the AFC Championship game and's crying tears on the sidelines because he appreciated the big moment, but he also appreciated what it meant to that fan base. Okay, now Patrick's got a chance to go win the game. And I think people lose sight of that. I will never, ever criticize any NFL player for wanting to get paid. If he doesn't want to play for less money, that's his right. If he wants to sit out to prove a point, that's his right. I don't know what kind of advice he's getting from the Katz brothers, whether it's good advice or bad advice, how much Chris is involved, or if Chris is saying, okay, enough's enough. Now, and then he posts this thing about the Ronald McDonald House, which he spends a significant amount of time with, does the McDonald's commercial. To me, I don't think that's not a coincidence. Doesn't mean he's going to show up tomorrow or come out of the tunnel carrying the flag on Thursday night. But I don't think he's closed the door in Kansas City. I don't think the Chiefs have closed the door.
No.
But they are roughly maybe $9 million apart. You take away the fines, a couple, maybe 2 million or so. It could be 3 if he misses game check. So they're like $4.5 million away. I think they can figure that out. It's my understanding they still are trying to get a deal done. And hopefully by this time tomorrow, he's a Chief and back in Kansas City, or he shows up at one of the Ronald McDonald's houses or McDonald's tomorrow morning, and he's passing out Chiefs Kingdom flags. So we'll see. But I think to answer your question, Lou, I don't think they're as far apart as they are. They're just trying to structure the contract in a much different way, similar to what they did with Aaron Donald, where they rip up the last year.
The only concerning thing to me is I think just by, I guess, the philosophy of the front office, Veach, and players that are approaching 30 years old and making that investment. Now, obviously, this is a much different player. Mm-hmm. You definitely, if there's one guy that you're going to do it for, it's going to be him. But I think Veach in his mind also is looking, beyond that, like you said, adding that 4th year, but not really, it's not really intended for him to play that 4th year. And I think, as fans, I'm seeing some of the comments here is he's not, this isn't being a team player. This isn't that. Well, the bottom, like I said before, and I hate to repeat myself, but this is his last chance at a big payday. So for him, he has to do this. And the only leverage he has is withholding his services. And so again, it's difficult from a fan's perspective to see it, but again, this is it. This is his opportunity to get the money, and hopefully they can bridge the gap and get this behind us, and we can just roll at some point again, sooner than later.
Yep. Yeah, that's the key, sooner or later, to get it done. And I think the Chiefs gain all leverage if he misses the game. Now, if he signs it for the game and he doesn't play, that's one thing. But once you miss a game check, then I think the Chiefs have to look at it and say, what are our real options here? So I think they're going to put everything they have into it to change the narrative, to bridge the gap between now and tomorrow night. Or Wednesday night to get something done. Again, I'm shocked it's gone this far for both sides. I think Veach, kind of underestimated the Katz brothers and their negotiation tactics. I mean, remember, they didn't talk for a while, and that wasn't because Veach didn't make the phone call. You got to call back. You got to have two sides willing to engage. So they're still engaging, which is a good sign. And maybe the Jones tweet tonight puts us in a position to say, hey, maybe there's a little hope.
And he's their biggest client by a long shot.
He's their only client.
They've got a lot of lesser players. So it's strange that I don't know if he had a relationship with them, and when
probably
he was
back
younger,
to college, yeah.
So, so be it. That's your representation. That's what he wants. But again, it just seems a little strange that they're negotiating this huge deal, and it doesn't seem like they have before.
Yeah.
So that's going to be part of it.
And speaking of sooner or later, the game is going to be here sooner or later.
Oh, it sure is. Let's go.
We got to have, we got to have Chris Jones in the building or not. But either word, that sooner or later the game is going to be here. So what's your game preview of this game coming up? What's your predictions and what you're going to be looking for in this game? Go ahead.
Points. Nick mentioned that game in 2018 at the Coliseum, Goff versus Mahomes, and they 54-51. I mean, it was just an aerial circus, a lot of mistakes in Patrick's first year starting, but at the end of the day, he had 6 touchdowns. But I think and even he would be the first to admit it, and I think he has. What he remembers is the turnovers and some of the defensive touchdowns that he gave up. Now, granted, Goff, the weapons are, I guess, fairly comparable. I mean, I think they had Richard Woods and Brandon Cooks, Gerald Everett, I think, was the tight end, caught the big touchdown to win the game, or at least put them ahead before Marcus Peters made the interception at the end.
Ouch.
But I just expect it with maybe the Chiefs' lack of pass rush, if there is a lack of pass rush, and the fact that they're just going to score a lot on offense, that Detroit's going to score some. I'm not thinking 54-51, but it's certainly going to go over the total. I think it's 54.5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's definitely going to be over. And, you look at Patrick Mahomes, as you see on the graphic, 5-0 in openers, 1,542 passing yards, 18 touchdowns.
That's just ridiculous.
0 interceptions. I mean, he's only lost, once or twice in the month of September in his entire career.
Those are Madden numbers.
I mean, it's sick to me, but as long as you've got this guy, you got a better than 50% chance you're going to win any football game that he's the starting quarterback. And there's not another starting quarterback that I think you can say that. I think you get close with Burrow, and but people don't fear Burrow as much as they used to, because now they've got a book on him. He hasn't had to change his game yet. Mahomes, he's had to change. This is now his third different type of offense in 5 years, and he's got 2 Super Bowl rings, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and 2 NFL MVPs with completely different casts, parts, and pieces outside of basically Travis Kelce. So, for this game coming up, to me, I think the Chiefs have to avoid slow starts. When they defended their title a couple years ago, I think it was against the Browns. I mean, they had to come back in the third, fourth quarter, make it a game. Mahomes had to do some incredibly magical things. But for this game, no Kelce, no Jones, but that crowd, I went to the final preseason game, and I was shocked how into it that crowd was for a preseason game. And they want to celebrate this Super Bowl. The players might not care anymore. The players just want to get on and chase the ring again. But I think to play in front of the home crowd is going to be it's going to help them a lot if they have some lulls. And I think we're looking probably at a 38-31 game, maybe a late touchdown by the Lions and a failed onside kick, just because I'm not sold on the defensive pressure getting to Goff. And if you give Goff some time, he can make some plays. So I want to see that first before I say it's going to be a 38-10 kind of game.
Nick, I don't know about that. I think he kind of slipping on the words there. I think the Chiefs gonna win 40-21.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. I think it's gonna be 40-21. The Chiefs come out there and shocks the world because everybody think Patrick Mahomes needs this person, he needs this piece. This is gonna be torch the earth, Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna go out here and just go here and light the whole earth on fire because he's tired of everybody saying he needs this person, he needs that person, he needs this person, he needs Chris, he needs Tyreek Hill, he needs Travis Kelce, he needs Andy Reid, he needs Eric Bieniemy, he needs all these people. But when Patrick Mahomes is gonna go out there like, look, I took Justin Ross, I took Tony, I took MVS, I took Sky Moore, I took Rasheed Rice, I took Ricky James, and nobody didn't want no more. And I turned all them guys into superstars on the national stage right here in Kansas City. So 41-21.
Ouch.
The defense is going to come alive. The hometown hero has got drafted here on the stage. Is he going to come alive? He probably going to have 3 or 4 sacks. But I'm telling you, the offense, the deep. I think. For me, I used to play football before. I shout out. I mean, and it's nothing more than somebody that's in front of you in a different position, meaning ahead of you, and knowing that they moved out the way and your time to shine. If I'm the young player on the team and Chris Jones not there, I'm like, this is my time. You left too many leftovers on the plate. I ain't leaving no leftovers on the plate. I ain't leaving nothing for the dogs or nothing. Ain't gonna be nothing to go in the trash. I'm eating everything that's in front of me, and that's what I think the defense is going to do. What you think, Luke?
Well, I hope you're right. There's no question they're going to score points. This offense is not going to be stopped. I mean, they a lot of uncharacteristic turnovers, which they really haven't shown in years. So I'm not worried about that at all. Again, I get not to be redundant, but again, it is that defense. So yeah, I hope all those guys that you just mentioned do step up, do make plays. I'm really excited about the defensive backs. Again, it's just that pass rush, and hey, they'll prove me wrong, and FAU does his thing, and George on the other side. George has got a motor now. And Nick, you were talking about it before. I mean, he didn't hit that wall. The kid just doesn't stop. He's relentless. So I think again, like you said, spending time with Tom, but spending time with Frank Clark, learning how to use his hands a little bit more, because I think at Purdue, it was just kind of an effort guy, and he was just stronger than the guy in front of him. Right.
Yep.
So he refines his skills a little bit, and maybe he does make that step up. And I'm really looking forward to it. I think he's all the second year guys I'm really excited for. They're going to be players.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of what happened last year. Andy Reid played 7-8 rookies, and he doesn't. We've said this a couple times on the show. He doesn't like to play rookies. Spags certainly doesn't. And they just changed things up, early in the season. They said, okay, let's just play the depth chart. If there's a young kid who's better, that's where he's going to be. And they let these guys that, struggle and have success. And in the postseason, they all stepped up. I mean, every single one of them, every one of those draft picks made a key play at some point in the postseason. And, now they're seasoned veterans. Some of them are leaders. You got Trent McDuffie, who, was sensational last year, despite the facts that, he missed the first 6 games with an injury. He'll be ready to go. Snead, it's one of the better cornerbacks. He's playing for a big time contract, and the secondary is just solid. And that's the strength of this defense, is that secondary. If that secondary can keep receivers in check, then that pass rush, no matter who's up front, is going to put pressure on Jared Goff. So I'm not saying they're just go 41 points, hence, but I think if everything goes well, I think it's possible.
Yeah, they certainly could. I don't think there's any question about that. On the other side of the field, I'm interested to see the rookie that I liked a lot. Now again, they've got plenty of running backs, and they're not going to spend another first-round pick. But Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama is going to be a special player, and they keep talking about how they were going to use him, in different spots. He's more of the offensive weapon, not just a running back. So
Right.
I'm glad that the Chiefs linebacking core has really grown leaps and bounds over the last 2 or 3 years. You got a bunch of guys that are very athletic, can move, can cover. Don't sleep on Drew Tranquil being a cover guy that can play. I mean, I think we talked about it after the last game, hence where, he's kind of like Dirty Dan, but a hell of a lot more athletic.
Heck of a lot better. Yeah, I remember Dirty Dan from that 54 to 51.
A lot more speed. Dan, I think he had the will, and he had, kind of the guts. He just didn't quite have the wheel. So, but Tranquil's a completely different player. And just, I just think playing that position, he's going to be perfect in this Spags defense.
Yeah, I totally agree. He was one of my favorite free agent signings for sure.
So what you guys, the closer every week of preseason, the preview of the game preview, what to be looking for? What's the key points that all the fans should be watching going forward into this season? And on Thursday night, what should be the key point? What should be the main focus that they focus in on?
You know what I think is going to be interesting, guys, is I think it's going to be interesting with Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator now. Eric Bieniemy is obviously at Washington. But I really like the way the Chiefs ran their offense in the second half against the Eagles. They committed to the run. And that's not something that Andy has done a lot of in his career, because, he wants to pass the ball and he likes those plays. And I think they did it because Patrick was hurt. But if this team establishes a solid running game with Jerick McKinnon and as the primary backup, I think they have the makings of something really good, especially if Pacheco's healthy. And if they ever develop Clyde Edwards-Helaire just a little bit more, then you look at this offense, and if they're running the ball and doing traps and pulls, and they're getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards a chunk, just think, I mean, that just opens the entire offense from the passing game. That they're not going to play the kind of bracket zone coverage that they played on Mahomes in the past, because it's not going to work, because they're going to have to give guys to support the run. So I think for me, the difference to watch for is if the defense is giving the Chiefs something, even if it's running the ball, I think they're going to run the ball until they stop it. That's just that's something I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I'm looking at both lines of scrimmage, defense and offense. Now, obviously, the three in the middle, rank right up there with anybody in the league, probably ahead of everybody in the league. The two new tackles, let's see how that meshes together. And Nick, to your point, absolutely. They, if they're going to drop 8, they're going to be a light box. Those guys are big. They can mash if the Chiefs decide to commit to it a little bit and do those pulls, do those zone runs. I mean, the offense is just so dynamic. They can do basically whatever the hell they want. So if the defense is telling them, hey, let's go ahead and run it, we dare you, do it. If not, then Patrick will just torch him. But it's just really that, hopefully it's that simple. But I know it's not the sexiest thing, but if you're a fan watching the game, watch both lines of scrimmage, and whoever is dominating there, typically that's going to be the winner of the game.
I'm looking to see what Taylor going to do coming from Jacksonville and Smith coming from Tampa Bay. I'm trying to see the new tackles. What are they going to hold up? What can they bring to the team if the Chiefs going to miss Orlando Brown? I don't think so.
Please.
But if they're going to miss Orlando Brown, I don't think so. But I'm just saying, like, if we got to watch the tackles of this offensive line to see if everybody's gelled together. Because from my opinion, being in the preseason, I think the Chiefs going to have the best offensive line that they had by far around Patrick Mahomes. But you got to see what they can do up against the Detroit Lions. They not to have the best defensive line, but they have
it's pretty good.
I won't say one of the best. They average.
Well, I think you make a great point, and I think that's one of the keys as well. And the Chiefs, listen, they know their personnel, they know what they're capable of doing. They've got it figured out. So I think it's going to be a fascinating game, a very fascinating first game. But those tackles, I agree with you. I never want to hear Orlando Brown Jr. again. Joe Burrow is going to dislike him by the time the season ends. He was not very good. And I'll say this because I've had people, you don't understand how good he was, a Pro Bowl player.
In this world touching Patrick Mahomes.
Pro Bowl player, Watch the injury to Patrick Mahomes in the Jacksonville Jaguars game. He led him right to him. Now, it was kind of a cheap shot, in my opinion, to go to kind of hit him at that angle. But so many times, this guy had to have help from a Noah Gray, or Blake Bell, or Isaiah Pacheco, or Travis Kelce, Jerick McKinnon, and so it looked better than it was. He does not possess good footwork. He's a great run blocker. I don't think he has the pass skills, the offensive line skills, to play that well in the pass, especially in Cincinnati. Now Joe Burrow gets rid of the ball quick, but Donovan Smith is, to make my point, hammer home to the point where I don't want to talk about it anymore, is 10 times the tackle of Orlando Brown Jr., and he was injured last year. He's healthy now. He's got some girth. He brings some attitude. I think for the first time since Dick Vermeil was here, we got 5 maulers on the offensive line, just like Andy had in Philly. He always had 5 guys who were just maulers who could move in space. And I think this could go down as one of the top 3 offensive lines in club history if they stick together. But Donovan Smith, what I saw in the preseason. Now, Taylor, I didn't really see enough to me that warranted that huge contract at this point. But for Smith and the money they signed him for, his secondary blocks were my favorite. he'd hit one guy and he'd go down the field and he'd push somebody out of the way. That never happened with Orlando Brown. Okay, I said the word. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say it again. So,
we need to get our investigative team to look into this conspiracy on how he made those Pro Bowls, because certainly there was a better.
There aren't that many great left tackles in the NFL.
Better left tackles in the AFC. There had to be some. Come on.
No, there aren't that many great left tackles in the NFL, and he got it in Baltimore because they played smash mouth football and he excelled. When he moved to the left side.
Right. He played on the right in Baltimore, though.
But he moved to the left in his last year.
Yeah,
because of the injury.
Well, anyway,
it doesn't matter.
He's Cincinnati's problem now.
He's their problem right now.
On to Cincinnati.
Man, Marilee's bringing it tonight. Look at her. She's just going all after.
She said Brown is garbage. Garbage.
Marilee, love the comments. Love the comments. We'll see what happens.
Tell us how you really feel.
We want to thank everybody for watching, man. We have more breaking news. We'll bring more breaking news here on the ChiefsBlitz.com. Or you always can catch the reruns on YouTube, on Facebook, or you can catch them posted on Twitter. Also, you can catch us, some of the stuff also on, Bowtie Sports website or stuff like that also. Again, we want to thank everybody, all the people that commented back and forth, that communicated back and forth with us. We love you. You know what I mean? So if you want the Chiefs news, you want it right straight, you want it facts and all facts, no fiction, then you come here. You come right here.
That's right. That's the place.
Chiefs Blitz. Or if you don't catch it there, you catch it. Like sometimes we do stuff on Bowtie Sports and also stuff like that too. So with that said, man, I want to thank everybody for watching. It's been a great show, and we'll see you guys again next time.
All right.
Go Chiefs.
Lou, thanks for filling in. Hence, thanks for producing the show. Got some new surprises coming up. Might have a different look here soon. We're really trying to do our best here. And I want to reiterate what Hence said. The response has been incredible. Social media, phone calls, everything. People who I haven't talked to in years. Thank you from the bottom of my soul and heart for climbing aboard Chiefs Blitz. We got a lot more to come. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. And go Chiefs. Opener.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. Take care, guys.